Fixings. What kind of fixings would we use in electrotechnology? Let's have a look. Welcome back to another electrotechnology video. In this video, we are going to look at the different kinds of fixings that we might use in electrotechnology. These are not all the types of fixings. There are many, many more. I'm just going to go through some of the more common ones that you might come across. This is just for hollow walls. There are other fixings that we will look at for solid walls. Talking of which, I don't know if you can hear that, but next door we have a class who are obviously getting very excited with their hammers. So, if you can hear hammering going on in the background, that is what is happening. They are obviously doing a lot of hammering, which is great. We enjoy that. Hammering is always good. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these fixings for you. I have a sheet of plasterboard here just to demonstrate how some of these work. I'm going to start with the more obvious ones. Obviously, we have screws. Most people know what screws look like. But we can't use a screw into plasterboard because the plasterboard is too weak. The screw will just fall out. It's not going to do anything for us. So we could use something like this. This is called a wallmate. In fact, that is probably the brand, wallmate. I'm sure they're actually called something else. But for argument's sake, we're going to call this a wallmate. And what it is, you can see it's basically just a large screw. And it will screw into the plasterboard. And then we can take another screw and we can screw that in to the insert of the wallmate. And that will hold on. So I'm going to demonstrate how we're going to do this. I'll simply grab some tools. In this case, it requires a Phillips head screwdriver, and you basically put the Phillips head into the wallmate, choose a spot, and screw in. It takes a little while to get started. I don't want to push too much on the plasterboard as I don't want to break it in any way. There we go. And it just screws in nice and easy. I would not do this with a battery drill. If you do this with a battery drill, you are going to ruin this. All right, there we go. So that goes in. I take my screw and I can place the screw into the center of the wallmate. Now, interestingly enough, I am using a rather long screw. The wallmate itself is not very long, so you will need to make sure you use the right length screw depending on where it is you're actually trying to screw onto the wall. All right. Then we also have one of these. These are called spring toggles. They're called spring toggles because they basically spring out. Sometimes they are known as butterfly toggles. They come in various different types. This one obviously has two sides that spring open. You can get ones that just have the one side spring open. You can get ones that just use gravity to drop down as well. They're all various different designs on the same idea. And the way we do this is we take a drill and we drill a hole. There we go. Drill a hole into our plasterboard. Now I actually had to round that hole out a little bit because I know that drill bit is not the right size. And then we need to make sure that our screw is not too far back so that the spring clip doesn't work. It needs to go through enough, but they're not too close so that when we put it together, we still have enough room for it to go through the plasterboard. In it goes, and what will happen is it will spring out of the back. There we go. Now, obviously, I haven't got anything to attach, so that's gone straight through the wall. If I had something to attach on this side, when I tighten that up, then obviously the screw the screw head, I should say, will bite down on the item I'm screwing down and hold that in place because it holds on the back like that. Okay, moving on. I have here with me some pan head screws. Now these screws, they're called pan heads because the head is like a frying pan, really. Now again, I wouldn't put screws directly into plasterboard, but if I was screwing into maybe behind the plasterboard, there was timber framing or metal framing, I might want to use one of these to screw in using the pan head basically like a washer. So it would hold whatever I'm trying to put on nice and tight onto the wall, as long as I have enough room in the device I'm screwing to. A lot of times you won't, so you might just use a normal screw for that. Moving on, I have what I think is one of the greatest inventions. These items here, in the industry we usually call them spiders, but they do again have various different names. The good thing about these little guys is they're reusable and they're very easy to put in. Now, they don't hold a lot of weight, so I wouldn't use these if I was putting up a rather heavy weighted light fitting, for example. But if I was just putting small light things on, these things are really, really handy. And to put them on, it works very similar to my butterfly clips, where I will take a hole. There we go. And you take the screw and you put the screw into the little spider, turn it up, just like I would with a butterfly clip, and then I can push it through. Now, in this case, the idea is you want to make sure that the hole is fairly tight. You don't want it too loose, okay? You don't want it too tight either, because it will probably push through and break the plasterboard on the other side. And generally what I would do is I'd take my screwdriver, my pliers, once I have the hole, and put the screwdriver on the screw like that and give it a bit of a tap. And through it goes. Now I can tighten that up. And when I tighten that up, what will happen is the spider will bite into the plasterboard at the back and lock itself in position and then tighten up, which is fantastic. Now I did say they're reusable because if for whatever reason you need to put in a longer screw, maybe the screw was too short, you can take the screw out and it'll stay locked in place, and you can get a longer screw and put a longer screw in. And it should sit there and screw back in again. So excellent little thing to have. They're not that expensive. They are hard to come by these days. They were more popular, I suppose, a few years ago, but there you go. These ones are called anchor plugs. That's the brand name for these ones. Again, I've always called them spiders in the trade. We have all sorts of weird names for things. Okay, lastly, now this isn't really for plasterboard. This won't work on plasterboard. This is more for timber. But a very important fixing that we need to use is our cable clip. And these cable clips are the plastic type of clip. There's really two cable clips that we use here in Australia. Firstly, the plastic one, and then we have a brass one. The brass ones are hideous. Don't use those. They still sell them. I don't know why, but they do. A lot of old buildings will have the brass clips on them. The benefit of these ones is when we put it on to the timber, we put our cable through and we hammer it down, then the cable sits securely, but if you give the cable a good yank, you can pull the cable out from underneath. Now, why would you want to do that? If you have a cable that's in a wall and it has been clipped down the wall, as it should be by the standards, and you need to remove it, then you want to be able to get that free. So sometimes you can get hold of that cable, give it a good yank, it'll break free, and then you'll be able to pull the cable back up from the top and insert another cable. If it's got the brass clips on it, there is no way you are ever getting that off unless you can actually get in there and manually remove it yourself. So the plastic clips here are fantastic, plus they're quick and easy. The brass ones take more time to put on. These ones, you just sit over the cable, hit it with a hammer, away you go. that is it for these fixings. I'm sure I will have more videos on more fixings very soon. We need to look at solid wall fixings, and there are other fixings that we can use for timber and plasterboard as well, and we'll probably make some videos on those. Hopefully this has been informing for you, and I will see you in the next video.